red if it's under 100. So we're trying to, pick out those outliers, right? How can we do that? So we're going to go back to edit, right? And we're looking for QTR1 total. You might have to scroll down there a little bit. And there is our background color expression. Now, by the way, in terms of, using expressions in your visualizations, this is a good example, right? And I mentioned that, you'll see that in other applications as well. The one that I think of right up at the gate there is Crystal does that too. Now, I'm going to hit the little FX right here, which gets us back into our formula. And then basically, I'm going to take that whole thing and I'm going to copy that onto my clipboard. Okay. And then I'm going to go almost to the end here. Right after that close parens, like 0 close parens. Right. And then I'm going to put in a comma. I'm going to hit enter. Maybe hit enter twice. And just a visual, you don't have to do this, but remember, that's where we had that false leg, and we got rid of that, right? So I'm going to get rid of that F, and I'm just going to paste what we have right now. Right? And again, you don't have to, but I'm going to indent that a little bit so that you can see that it's not part of the original here. Long and short of it is this, but putting one function inside of another, we're nesting. Nesting is the term here. One function inside of another. Then we just got a little bit of adjustment to do, right? We're going to say Q1 is less than 100. And then as far as the RGB goes here, we're going to switch that a little bit. The R value is going to be 255, comma, 0. Right? So the green value is 0 and the blue value is 0. So right there, if it's greater, we're testing. If it's greater than 1,000, make it red. If it's not, we got to do another test. And if it's less than 100, make it red. Sorry, I think I misspoke a second ago. So make it green here. And if it's less than 1,000, make it red. And otherwise, it's going to slip through without being changed at all, right? That's the big deal right there. So again, that's really the bulk of it. So before we test it out, any questions on what I explained there so far? All right, let's see what we got here. So I'm going to apply. Right. And we're going to hit done. And let's see what we got. All right, so there's a couple right there. 88.5, right? 86 and 40 cents. And we have some green there as well. All right. I want to pause right there for a moment. Can anybody think of any questions on anything that I've shown you here so far? Okay. There is one question that's just kind of staring at us there. Does anybody notice anything about the values? Some values that should be red.
The zeros.
Yeah. What's going on there? Why do you think that those zeros are not coming up?
We didn't say less than or greater, or less than or equal to.
Those may be null values?
Null values, I think so.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so here's the point. Those zeros are showing as 0, but that's really being displayed, right? The actual values in the underlying data sets are missing. They're null values. And therefore, that's not being recognized, or it's not being triggered by our particular expression. So I forget, I don't think that's in your book, but they mentioned this solution yesterday. I just saw an opportunity to practice here a little bit and show you how to apply that. So if you remember, we talked about alts. Show me an alternative. And basically with alts, we can put in a bunch of arguments. And what's going to be returned is the first valid numeric value, right? So if we really wanted to nail this, and again, I'm going overboard a little bit, but hey, you know, it's one of those things you might get called on, right? Like, hey, how do I do that? I'm going to go back here to edit. And let's see, here's our format pattern. You're going to have to roll down a little bit. Hey, there's our background color expression. I'll hit the little FX here. Okay, so specifically what I have to watch out for is the field value right here, QTR1, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to isolate that for just a moment. I'll glue this back together in a second, but I'm going to drop down my greater than sign there. And what I wanted to show you was alts, open parens, and the first argument that I'm feeding it there, so to speak, is our field value, right? I'm going to say comma, and then 0, close parens. Now, what that means is if QTR1 is a valid numeric value, it's going to return that. If it's not a valid numeric value, i.e. if it's null in this instance, it's going to return the next thing, which is 0. Right? So that's a way for us to trap for null values. And just to make it a little simpler, I'm going to copy that, and I'll paste it right over this QTR1. Right? Save me a little bit of time. And I'm going to tighten up that guy right there. Right? So again, that's what's referred to as trapping for null values, accounting for that situation. Double check, make sure it's okay. And I will apply. And now, whoa, Nelly. Okay, so maybe, I went overboard with the red there. And by the way, I'm actually going to take that back just so that's pretty offensive, right? Don't forget, undo is down at the bottom here, where Control Z is one of the shortcuts we talked about. Okay? But I wanted to throw that in there. I think that's the kind of stuff you are going to encounter. Yeah, give me a little feedback, guys. Is it like too much or helpful?